Hi everyone! Okay, so right now we are live on Facebook for another episode of Take 5 at 5. And of course, time passed very fast. We are now already at episode number 7. And today we're going to talk about a very important topic, which is about getting off the dog, right? So a lot of people are actually talking about MCO, and now that, the Prime Minister have announced that, right now we are going through the transition of, getting off MCO. What are we going to do next when we go back to our workplace? So a lot of people have been asking that question. So I would like to give you the analogy that, it's just like a sailboat, right? Has already been docking at the marina for quite some time, and when the boat are all docked in the marina, normally what we do is that the people will actually get the boat to get repaired, if there's any maintenance to be run, to replenish all the supplies. And I think we've come to the moment that we are getting unhooked to the marina and we are ready to set sail again for post MCO. And the first topic that we're going to talk today is moving forward with feedback. And I'm very happy to share with you and also to invite our guest speaker, Kai, who is from DPS Strategic, to share with us on this topic on how do we move forward with feedback. Hi, Kai.
Thank you, Jack. Hello, Jack. Thank you so much for having me on this show today, and welcome everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Yeah, for those of you who have joined us, right, can you please, give us some like, a thumbs up down there, give us some love down there, right? Or you can even comment, say hi, say hello. Yeah. Oh, Koa is here. All right. Koa is here. Say hi. Julia is with us, right? So I hope you can join us until the end of the show. Yeah. Oh, Julia said first time joining Take 5. Good. Hopefully this is not your last time. So remember to follow My Heart Connection. All right, and we're going to start with the first topic, right? So, Kai, can you share with us what were you going to bring us through today's topic? Moving forward with feedback is quite interesting, yeah?
Okay. Feedback, we have a saying here in Toastmasters that feedback is the breakfast of champions. However, depending on anyone's perspective, that feedback is either a delicious breakfast or it's a very, very bitter medicine to take or even swallow. Now, feedback is important because it always helps us improve. But one of the main issues we have today is that whether it's pre-MCO or even post-MCO, maybe even during MCO, feedback can either serve to motivate or demotivate. So when we talk about forward with feedback, we want to talk about a few simple steps on how to improve on giving feedback in this case. First point. For the first point, we would like to say a 2-to-1 ratio. 2 good feedback for every 1 area of improvement. Now, the reason why I say this is because most of the time when we talk about feedback, most of the feedback we always have is always more to do with our flaws. Like, for example, you were not meticulous enough, or you accidentally acted this way in front of the client, or even this report, too many grammatical mistakes. It's always about flaws and flaws and flaws. One of our biggest problems today sometimes is even with good, proper feedback, the feedback we always get is always about what we must improve on. Hence, a lot of people actually go on a downhill slide into deterioration because we all keep focusing so much on the bad things. People actually forgot to focus on what is good about their work. And gradually, even the good things that are taken for granted also end up getting let go in the interest of improving on those flaws. And that doesn't help a lot because if we're not careful, we'll find it much, much harder to get up in the morning to go to work when we know our mistakes are always highlighted, but all the good things we've done, nobody cares about. 9 out of 10 things you do well, but that that one thing you don't do right is the main focus every day. And that's pretty
That's
painful.
right. I really like your point here. It's very simple, 2-to-1 ratio, especially in our Asian context, especially we grow up in Asian context whereby normally in an Asian family, when we grew up, as we do something wrong, I don't know about the new generation right now, but during my generation, our parents will give us feedback when we do something wrong by giving us the cane, of course, some people will get the lucky ones will get more than the cane. Probably they get the dusters, and the ruler and stuff like that, right? So normally when we see, in from Asian context, when we see our elders, or we see our parents, when we ask for feedback, normally the only feedback that we get is when we do something wrong, which is sometimes very demotivating, as you have mentioned earlier. The feedback can be from both ends. It could turn positive or turn negative. And I think what the point that you share with me here, the ratio 2-to-1 ratio is so important so that we can turn feedback to the positive side. And we want feedback to be motivating and something that, the people on the receiving end can take it to move forward. Okay. And for all of you who are joining us here today on a Facebook Live, what do you think, of this way of giving feedback, 2-to-1 ratio. So for every one area improvement, before you want to say it out or let it out your mouth, probably you need to think of 2 good things that you want to share with that particular person, right? So let us know down in the comment. Let's take a look. Kai, let's take a look at the comment down there, right? So, Sengbi is saying that negative feedback arouses amygdala hijacks. Yeah, so sometimes when we start with negative feedback, right, people ask for feedback, you give negative feedback, right? Before you reach the positive feedback, people already shut down, or the person already demotivated. They are not listening to what you're going to say next. And defensiveness is the order of the day. Can we look at some other comments here? Okay. All right, Jean. Hi, Jean. Yeah, Jean has been joining us in our previous episode as well. How are you, Jean? Yeah. So for those of you who are watching, hopefully, the first thing you can do right now, after this show, is to turn to the person next to you and give them at least 2 positive feedback. Yeah. If they ask for it, then you give the third one, which is the area of improvement. Okay, Kai. So why don't we move on to the next point then? So after we learn about the 2-to-1 ratio, okay, what will be the second thing about feedback that is very important to help us to move forward after this MCO?
Here's a funny thing about the 2-to-1 ratio, the first point. Initially, when I was attending an online class by Boyatzis, he says 5 good points to 1. And that's a bit overkill.
Yeah, wow.
Then
so you're very kind to us, You asked us to do 2 only,
Then some people are recommending 3-to-1. Actually, Toastmasters will recommend 3-to-1. But here I give 2-to-1 because the next point, if you really think about it, make time for feedback, because any other time is never a good time for feedback. Proactively set time for feedback. Any other time is never a good time for feedback, because one of the main reasons why we're surrounded by a lot of negative feedback is because whether it be your parents, whether it be your bosses, they're all stressed out themselves. They got things to worry about. Like if a kid is struggling with his or her homework, the parents are struggling to question what is the food budget expense for next month. If you need help on any project, sometimes the boss is under pressure to question where to allocate resources to. In the end, a lot of work that you do, other people are also doing work and they're also getting stressed out themselves. So when Singbi commented on amygdala hijacks, it's also because people are functioning a lot under stress. And any other time they're under stress really, really sets off a chain reaction of very, very reactionary stances towards other problems. So any feedback they have to focus on is really mostly negative. So it's not really a question of how much biologically that we're able to focus on the good. we're actually usually predisposed to bad. So to even do the 2-to-1 ratio requires a very conscious effort to really say, here are 2 things that I like about what you've done, and 1 area of improvement to take yourself to the next level. So if you notice, I said 2 good feedback for every 1 area improvement. I could have said 2 good feedback for every 1 bad feedback. But here's the problem. The moment you say bad feedback, it's kind of like you're already using the bad feedback as an identifier. Like you're a naughty child, or you're an attention-seeking child, you're an arrogant person. These are all labels that usually stick with a person more than the good feedback ever does. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if let's say I would say that in the workplace, maybe in a work environment, some bosses can say that, oh, my staff are, not up to the mark yet, as what we have expected them to do. Or we say that, our staff are lazy staff, and or my employee, they are not the type who can listen, right? So
Yep.
are these all the examples of labelings, that you mentioned just now?
Quite. Actually, very aptly described. But it's also not 100% their fault because, as I said before, they have to worry about other things. Like if the boss at the top is angry on Monday morning, coming into the meeting, sales, revenue 30% down this month. How are we going to make up for it in the next 2-3 months? That anger, if the big boss, the chairman up there screams on the Monday meeting morning, it can become a shockwave of anger and unhappiness, and more managers returning from that meeting with the chairman, going back to their departments to also scold the subordinates further and further down the chain. By Monday evening, the security guard is questioning, how come everybody in the parking lot all in a bad mood?
That's right. So what I hear you saying is that, sometimes one person give one negative feedback, or started with one negative feedback, it can actually trickle down towards the whole organization, all the way from the top, all the way to the security guard. Right. So Jean have a comment here. Jean is saying that, how to give genuine feedback to superior without getting sacked. Oh, wow. This is very interesting question, Jean. I would also like to know. So Kai, what do you think? How could somebody give negative feedback to the superior without getting sacked or risk getting sacked? That's very interesting.
Then let me dare to answer this question. Let's take the 2-to-1 rule. We upgrade it a little bit with 3-to-1. 3 good feedback for 1 area of improvement. In which case, you really got to find 3 good things the manager has done, and then you lay it on with the 1 area of improvement to say, if you change this particular behavior, you'd be helping not just me, you'll be helping the whole team. Because you need the 3 good feedback to really say, hey, somebody appreciate me, I have done so much work. Every time the company, the boss, the client, nobody say anything good about me, but you say something good about me. Oh, thank you. Then and then by the 3rd feedback, the person feel very happy. The 1 area improvement is to say, now, I know that you can take it to the next level if you change the following behavior. Then he'll be more receptive to say, okay, what's the feedback then? What's the feedback? Tell me. I'm more than ready to hear. That's how to go about it. Sometimes when we do a lot of coaching sessions, we ask a lot of people questions about how they live their life and what the struggles they've gone through throughout their entire career history. So one time at the end of a coaching session, one person was so happy, he gave a whole ton of verbal diarrhea about how much he went through with his company and all the other previous companies, all he's done. And he said, oh, goodness gracious, out of all the 20 years I've been working, somebody finally come into this company and appreciate me for all the hard work I've done. Thank you. So we had a firm handshake after that, and a very good working relationship after that.
So to answer Jean, right, Jean? Wow, because you asked this question, I also get to learn, how to give negative a genuine feedback, to our superiors without getting sacked, right? So the answer to you is think of the 3 good things first. Because sometimes by the time you think of the 3 good things, suddenly you realize actually the 1 negative feedback that I want to give about my boss become insignificant. So no need to tell already. So instead of risking yourself of being sacked, right, give the 3 compliment and then get yourself set for promotion coming to your way, right? So I think we have Sengvi saying 3 for 1 for boss is a good strategy. Yeah, I would say 3 is a minimum lah. If you can go 4, 5, 6, it's better lah. Then the 1 once in a while 1 okay lah. Once in a while I saw just now Catherine is saying something. Can we see Catherine's comment? Yeah. Okay, Catherine is saying that a friend taught me this hamburger theory. Praise, then area of improvement, then encouragement. Or as I know it, it's called the sandwich theory. Yeah. So Kai, is it relevant to you? Is it something that you are also sharing? This is called the hamburger or the sandwich theory.
Sandwich theory is actually quite good. I actually like the way you put it. But there are also times I've seen the sandwich theory done in a slightly crazier fashion. Or why don't I just start off with this very quick story about one of my evaluations back with Toastmasters. Once upon a time, I gave a very quick presentation about how to use keyboard shortcuts. So, Jack, how familiar are you with the Control Z, Control X, Control C, V, all those keyboard shortcuts?
I'm not familiar with this. Like right now, this session, I also don't know all the buttons. Houston is doing it at the backstage lah.
Okay. So see, that's the thing. I have one special speech where I dedicate to just helping them introduce these keyboard shortcuts so that on Microsoft Word, when you do your undo, your copy and paste, you can do it much faster without having to click around for these functions at all. I gave that one speech. Now, my evaluator, the person who is supposed to participate in the evaluation contest, and this was his evaluation of me. Kaishan, you're a very mature speaker, so I'm going to give you 3 good points, 3 bad points. The 3 good points, he says, you're very smooth in your speaking, you enunciate very well, and you give it with a very, very strong air of confidence. That sentence takes up only 10 seconds. The time limit to do a proper evaluation at any evaluation contest is 3 minutes. So that is 10 seconds for 3 good points, and that means 2 minutes 50 seconds to elaborate on all the bad points. So sometimes when you say sandwich theory, some people give very thin pieces of bread, but they give one very thick patty that overpowers the whole burger. In fact, to develop a little bit more on that story, I actually left that day feeling very pissed and very angry, because out of the 2 people, we were the only ones in that room who were around mid-20s. We were the youngest people in the room. Everyone else was pushing mid-30s to 40s to 50s. Our founder is 70. Every one of them was saying, oh, I was so familiar with Control Z, X, C, V, but when you saw me Control O, Control P, Control everything else, I didn't know there were such other functions. Thank you, Kaishan. Now, one of the bad points that the evaluator told me was, everybody in this room knows how to use a computer. Your speech is as good as irrelevant. So,
right.
Sometimes.
So when it comes to the sandwich theory, so what I hear you say here is that we also need to be very careful of how we budget the time when we give the positive and the negative feedback. So at least, for the very least, the amount of time that we spend giving a positive feedback as well as an area for improvement, we should budget more for the positive feedback and maybe leave 1/3 for the negative feedback or an area of improvement, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, the way you allocate time for how you say it. That's why I also say make time for feedback, because if you can think up your feedback in advance and if you are very clear on how the feedback should go, you're more likely to give a better, measured, and more emotionally appropriate feedback rather than just simply blurt it out at the one go.
Right. Good. So for those of you who join us, please, click like, give us some love, and then share it, do some, watch party, invite all your friends to join us in Take 5 at 5. Today, we are already at episode 7, and we are talking about how to move forward with feedback. And for those of you who already been with us, if you agree, if you like what we've been talking about, you like what Kai has shared, please share with us what do you think about it, or what are some of your personal opinions. And I'm very sure all of us back in our working days, right, when we go back to office, especially when it comes to the appraisal moment, I think each and every one of us, we can really relate to this story whereby, our bosses come in and tell you, hey, actually, most of the things are good, but today I'm not going to talk to you about the good things. Let's focus on your area of improvement. If you experience that, type down there. Yeah, you experience that. Type 1. Maybe let's see whether, most of you here, have whether you have experienced that before or not.
Hey,
So
Jack.
Jean said use of language or words is essential besides the 3-to-1 ratio. Oh, that's a very good suggestion, Jean. Yeah.
Hence the area of improvement. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So, and also looking back at the slides, making time, right? Proactively set time for feedback. Okay. Any other time is never a good time for feedback. So when it comes to feedback, I really love what you prepared here, Kai. That when we want feedback, right? We want to individually, proactively go and ask for it, Whereas if you were to wait for somebody to give you that feedback, probably that time wouldn't be a good time, and you might not be ready, especially if the person giving the feedback is giving you a negative one, and if this person don't know how to use the 2-to-1 ratio, or this person is not using the sandwich method, probably you will feel very negatively impacted, right? So moving on to the third point, Kai, what would you like to share with us? The third point.
Actually, I was going to make a quick joke about how you said 1 for bad feedback at the performance appraisal. Option number 2 is bad feedback at the performance appraisal over something that happened 9 months ago.
Yeah, that's right.
That really
So we can see,
hurts.
wow, Singbi say 1, Catherine say 1, Julia say 1, CJ say 1. Wow. So I think most of us here also has been through the same situation as you. Okay. So moving on, the third point.
Feedback. Next slide, please. Feedback is an ongoing lesson in life. This is the first half of the point. The second half is Toastmasters is a safe place for that lesson. So you see, the story that I shared with you is one of my various experiences as an evaluator and being evaluated on Toastmasters. Personally, even with the 2-to-1, even with making time for feedback, giving feedback is an ongoing lesson in life because you don't really know. It takes a certain degree of empathy and understanding to really be able to come to give advice that is suitable for the other person to hear. Not just suitable for them to hear, but to actually work on it. Because multiple times you've got a lot of advice. You're at work. Then imagine every Chinese New Year, if any of you know a kid or a child or cousin who has eczema or any other condition, every Chinese New Year when you visit your distant cousins, the first thing that happens is every auntie, uncle, older cousin all instantly have PhDs and they're telling you, use this cream, use that cream, use this lotion, use this ointment, use this TCM. So much advice. And chances are you've already used quite a myriad of them and it's not solving the eczema problem. You're already surrounded by a lot of bad advice. But those bad advice and also the evaluations you don't like in life are also great learning lessons on how to do feedback much better. I've been a Toastmaster for 6 years already with Bangsa Toastmasters, and I can tell you for sure, I've had my fair share of bad feedback, unhappy feedback, feedback that made me really want to curse and swear at my evaluator later. But for me, it's also been one very important question. Don't I do the same things as well? That was one out of many stories. Another story that I could share in a more recent time last year was a man by the name of Suga in MII Toastmasters. He's from Japan. In my second year in Toastmasters, when I club hopped to MII for one meeting and I was the evaluator, Suga was the general evaluator and he told me, Kaishan, I felt that your evaluation was very harsh and I can't say I'm very comfortable with it. He said it very frankly. Now, after that story of the 3 good feedback, 3 bad feedback, after a lot of ding and dong, and when I finally came back in the 5th year, or was it the 5th year, maybe 4th, 5th year, I came back and gave another evaluation. And Suga said, goodness, Kaishan, you've changed. I was like, oh, for the better? And he said, yes, you were this today. You evaluated 5 table topic sessions, 5 speakers, and your feedback towards each and every one of them is so encouraging. Thank you. You've done well. So
Right.
let's just say that's been a journey.
From your story you shared with us, right, it clearly shows that feedback is not something that we can do once and then we aim to actually upgrade our lives, move ourselves, progress to the next stage, right? Feedback is something that sometimes when we have too many negative feedback, we ourselves sometimes feel overwhelmed. We feel very down, right? And when we view feedback as something that is an ongoing process, probably to the viewers here, right, to people who are following us or watching us right now, right, even to myself, is that sometimes when you gather too many, area of improvement, right, it's not something that we have to work on all of it together, at the same time. Probably we can also sit on some of this feedback, and sometimes at different parts or different moment in our life, we can actually go back and revisit. And as Catherine had mentioned here, reflection of yourself while giving feedback to others. So we can also reflect on some of this feedback, right, that people have been giving us. And of course, also to build on what our previous guest speaker, Lu Han, had mentioned, where he says that for us to move forward, we need to make progress. So feedback, when we take it as an ongoing process, I see it as a very important step-by-step way to actually help us to make that progress and also to move forward. All right, so thank you very much for sharing with us, Kai. These are 3 very important key points and are very easy for us to remember. So the first one is the 2-to-1 ratio. Always remember, if you cannot remember, always give positive feedback much more than negative feedback. All right. And number 2 is, before people come to you to give you a negative feedback, always take the proactive action to go out there and proactively ask for feedback from other people, especially when you're ready for it. Okay. And the third one, there's no fast way to do this. And feedback is something that you need to do from time to time. And of course, for us to move forward, is actually an ongoing process. Okay, so what do you think after going through these 3 steps? Okay, comment down below if you like it. Maybe you can comment and probably can give us a thumbs up. All right. So Kai, before we go, we also just want to share with you, share with the viewers there, that Kai is also part of a Toastmasters club, and Kai, you are from Bangsa Toastmasters, right? Yeah, and Kai is also inviting all of you to actually attend his Zoom Toastmaster session, which is going to happen tomorrow. Is that correct, Kai?
Yeah, it's happening tomorrow at 7:30. We would like you to join the Zoom meeting at 7. Of course, invitation, I know.
Yeah. So
if you like to come in... Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry.
So if you like to join the Toastmaster session, right? The link is, you can see the link in the view there, right? So the Toastmaster, you can go to facebook.com/D51J Toastmasters. That is the district name. From there, you can reach out to them and ask for the Zoom link, all right? They'll send you the Zoom link and the Zoom password. You can actually join the Toastmasters session. And I think that is a good place for you to actually, if you want to improve on your public speaking, you can go there and practice, and also practice on how to give feedback. All right. So thank you very much, Kai, for being with us today. Our time is up. And for those of you who are watching at home, we would also like you to continuously join us, as we have another 3 more guest speakers lined up for this week's program. And the next one will be tomorrow, will be by Edward, and he'll be sharing with us on the route to resiliency. And after that, Catherine will be joining us on Wednesday to talk to us about power of trust. And Thursday is holiday, so both Houston and I are taking off. So there's no live show on Thursday, but we will come back and see you on Friday with Singbi to talk about where are my customers. All right, so thank you very much for joining us today at Take 5 at 5. This is the 7th episode. This is Jack, your host. See you.